Hello everyone, welcome back to this Football Manager experiment where we take the perfect team through from League 2 into the Premier League, winning the Champions League and further on from there. Now last time I thought it was going to be the last part, but quite a lot of you had extra questions that I didn't address in the second part. So this video is just going to be looking at those different things that you wanted me to take a look at. We have gone a bit further into the future because why not if we're doing another video. So as you can see, it is now 2029. So we need to jump over to Cambridge and see how they're getting on. They are still top of the Premier League, but they did fail to win the league one year. They finished 5th for reasons that just seem completely unknown because they were winning everything and then they just randomly finished 5th. Which doesn't really make any sense. They are at Cambridge United Stadium, which now has a capacity of 39,000. It was built in 2021. It's a brand new stadium for them. They've got superb training and youth facilities, top corporate facilities in the new stadium as well. Stadium sponsoring their good youth level. Their junior coaching and youth recruitment does need a little bit of updating, but otherwise they're doing pretty well. They're a rich club as well. They're in the Champions League still. Let's have a look how their senior squad has been getting on. If we go to the schedule, the right area, and go back, I think it was about 5 years that we went through. So if we go back to about here and sort of take a look, you can see that their league form continued to be pretty exceptional, going through everything. They carried on through the EFL Cup and the FA Cup, made the EFL Cup final, won it 3-0. There seems to be this glitch where the bottom of the fixtures just doesn't show up. I'm not sure what's causing that. But if we go down to the bottom, they won the EFL Cup, carried on through the Champions League, clearly winning the Premier League as well. They won the FA Cup 3-1 and won the Champions League against Chelsea as well. So that's not bad, winning every competition going. They also did it again this year in the Community Shield Super Cup. Knocked out of the EFL Cup by Spurs though, that's not very good. Actually losing a few games at this point, which is quite surprising. But they carry on through the competitions like the FA Cup and Champions League, into the FA Cup final, which they win, but they're knocked out of the Champions League semi-final by PSG. The year after that, win the Community Shield again, good start to the league season, going through all the competitions and the quarter-final of the EFL Cup, through into the final, getting past Southampton. Then they have Real Madrid in the Champions League, but they lose the EFL Cup final on penalties. They managed to overcome Real Madrid to get into the Champions League quarterfinals, where I think they are beaten by Bayern Munich on away goals. So they get knocked out at the quarterfinal stage this time and fail to win the FA Cup. I'm pretty sure they win the Premier League, but you can see they're winning less and less competitions at this point. And this season, look at this horrendous start that they make. They lose the Community Shield and start losing games left, right and centre. A terrible, terrible start. They recover it quite well. Manage to get into the EFL Cup semi-finals, get through that against Swansea. Then they lose a couple more games, but manage to get through in the Champions League against Atletico. Get knocked out of the FA Cup by Man United, but do win the EFL Cup against Spurs. Through against United in the Champions League quarter-final, their league form dipping a bit more again. I think this was the season that they finished 5th, but they did win the Champions League yet again. And then again, really good start to the league. They had the Club World Cup, which they won. Did they win the Community Shield and Super Cup? They won the Super Cup, but they didn't win the Community Shield because they weren't in it. But if we keep going down, through in the FA Cup, win the EFL Cup again, Champions League quarterfinals, get through, and then they have a bit of a nightmare against Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final, knocked out by Manchester United in the Champions League semi-final as well. Again, just going down, doing very well, keeping in the EFL Cup, win the EFL Cup final 3-0, carrying on through their competitions, knocked out of the FA Cup, but do manage to get through in the Champions League. There's that glitch again, so if we just go back, this is the last season we've seen. They won the Premier League and they won the Champions League 3-0 as well. So their success has continued. It's just not been as maybe dominant as you would expect. If we have a look at their titles, they've won the Champions League 4 times now, runner-up once. If they win it again, they get to keep the trophy. That's the rule of winning 5 Champions League trophies. They won the Premier League 9 times, winning it all but 1 year. The 2027 season, they failed to win it. FIFA Club World Cup 3 times is pretty good. UEFA Europa League once as well is nice. Super Cup 3 times. They won the FA Cup 5 times, losing in the final 3 times though. Won the Championship. EFL Cup they've won 7 times. Community Shield 8 times. They won Sky Bet League 1 for the 2nd time in 2018 after winning it in 1991. League 2 they won for the 2nd time as well. Checker Trade Trophy. The Panorama National League they actually won in 2014 as well. So quite a lot of recent success for the club, especially since we gave them the perfect team. Now if we just have a look at their transfer history and have a look at some of the big players that may have left. Derek Armstrong going, I don't think he's a big player at all. He's a regen. Andre Cortez leaving. Not sure. These players are all probably regens at this point. We're just looking for the really big players. Who's Chimili? He is not one of the big players. So they haven't sold anybody for a while. Bringing in William from Benfica and Tarasov. No major signings there. Nobody really going out. Again, not doing too much in the transfer market. So it looks like they've kept all of their major players. If we have a look at their senior squad and sort them by rating, you should be able to see that the majority of their players are still here. They had about 8 or 9 left. And their squad's actually very good across the board because their other players would have been coming through at the same time. Now, one of the things that people did want me to have a look at is the Ballon d'Or. So if we have a look at this and see who's been winning it year after year, you can see it's actually only ever twice gone to a Cambridge player, which is absolutely incredible. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the other players are former Cambridge players. So Joe Piggott's a former Cambridge player, been at Arsenal for a long time now, getting a lot of goals in his career, 284 league goals in 545 league games. Then Mehdi Alito did win it with Cambridge. He's still at the club, 28 years old now, 150 caps for his country. Bradley Halliday, another of the perfect players. He went to Manchester United as a right back and kept on winning the Ballon d'Or. He won it twice in a row. Joe Pigott came back. He won it 4 times in total. Ikpeazu, I think is how you say that. He went to PSG and has had a very good time there, getting an awful lot of goals. A very good goal scoring record in Ligue 1. Bradley Halliday winning it for the 3rd time. So Joe Pigott is the overall best player in this perfect team, but Adam McGurk is the latest player to win it from the right wing. Been at Cambridge since the start, working his way up. I had to bring him back from Arsenal and Chelsea a couple of times, but he's been loyal to the club ever since. So you can see that the perfect team has won it every single year, but they've not always been at Cambridge because of the players that we allowed to leave. And even when they were all at Cambridge, Lionel Messi carried on winning the Ballon d'Or. I mean, Mesut Ozil won it in 2016. So competition was clearly, well, their competitions were clearly not rated high enough for them to be able to win it because they weren't in the biggest European competitions. Now, the other thing that people really wanted me to take a look at is the England national team, because obviously a lot of these players were English. In fact, I think all 11 of them were English. So you can now see the top players all at Cambridge. Got Joe Pigott and Bradley Halliday in there, the 2 Ballon d'Or winners. And if we have a look maybe at their schedule, I will skip to the very first year and we'll go through from there. So in 2017, it doesn't look like any of the players had actually broken into the team. So we're obviously still in lower league football. Then Ikpeazu managed to break into the squad, got a couple of goals against Slovenia. James Dunn and Alito getting in there. You can see this is where the Cambridge names start to pop in. And in the World Cup, crushing Iran 4-0, 4-1 against Tunisia as well. Beating Germany 2-0 at the group stage. Connor Newton and Joe Pigott with the goals. And then beating France 2-0 as well. Joe Pigott once again with the goals. Beating Brazil in the quarterfinals. Portugal in the semi-finals. But then heartbreakingly losing to a Dejan Lovren 89th minute winner in the World Cup final. That is absolutely horrendous. Of all the players to go and do that, it was Dejan Lovren. But then they carried on doing well in the European League Division A. Still a very good record, but they lost in the International League final on penalties. Andros Townsend still in the team, but you can see their record was brilliant, not conceding any goals in qualifying for the Euros, where they took on Holland, won 3-0. Dele Alli still in the team, 2-0 against Serbia, 3-1 against Sweden, through 2-0 against Scotland as well in the second round. Needed penalties and a 93rd minute equaliser to knock Spain out of the Euros in the quarterfinals. But then 2-0 against Belgium, and then they win the European Championships 1-0 against France in 2020. The year after that, they're in the Confederations Cup, and they absolutely blitz it, taking out Argentina 3-0, and then getting revenge on Croatia in the final, 3-0, the World Cup winners, beaten. Portugal also getting beaten 2-0 in the International League final. Perfect record in the World Cup qualifiers. And then in the World Cup, they start off brilliantly. 3-0 against Algeria, 6-1 against South Korea, 3-0 against Italy, knocking out Australia in the second round. Holland in the quarterfinals, 6-1, 5 goals for Ikpeazu. And then real revenge on Croatia, a 4-0 crushing in the World Cup semi-final before demolishing Brazil 3-0. Dele Alli and Marcus Rashford getting on the score sheet in the World Cup final, taking out Brazil in China, which is where the World Cup was moved for 2022. So that wasn't bad, winning the World Cup. Good season of Euro qualifiers, and then in the Euros next year, taking out Holland on penalties. 2 players sent off in that game. Must have been a feisty one. But then beating Germany 4-1 in the European Championship final. That's pretty nice. Their second European Championship with the Cambridge players. The Confederations Cup they retain, beating Brazil 5-2 in Mexico, but they lose the International League final 2-1 to France. And then in the World Cup again, another good year getting through. They did draw with Egypt in the opening game though, but then took out Portugal in extra time. 120th minute winner from Ballon d'Or winner Joe Pigott. 5-1 against Holland in the quarters. 1-0 against Brazil in the semis. And then 4-0 against Argentina in the final to win their third World Cup overall, the second with these players. I think there's a very common theme here. Winning the International League final. The Euros, they're knocked out by Germany in the semi-finals. 2-1, a Dele Alli own goal made it 2-0. Ryan Williamson tried to bring them back, but it wasn't enough, so they couldn't win a third European Championship. And right now they're heading back to the Confederations Cup, but if you have a look at England's competitions history, you will see 3 times World Cup winners now, 2-time European champions, an excellent run of from 2020 to 2026, winning 4 international tournaments, not including the International League either, which they've won 3 times, and the 2 Confederation Cups. A real, true glory period for the England team, thanks to these Cambridge players. So you can see overall they've done very, very well. Look at that, 3 World Cups for England. That is very nice to see, and 2 European Championships, 3 Olympic Games as well, which is quite interesting. Did they win the last? No, that one went to Italy, but past winners, England. So all those Olympic game wins must have come well before, because there wouldn't have been an Olympic Games England team anyway. It would have had to be a British team. But 2 Confederation Cups in there, lots of under-19 European Championships. But yeah, that's going to be it, I think, for this experiment. I think we've run everything we could possibly see. It is just medals and goals everywhere you look for this team. Even the players that left Cambridge and did it on their own at Arsenal and Manchester United were picking up Ballon d'Ors left, right and centre. So I think if you've enjoyed this series, you should drop a like on it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I've got lots more very exciting Football Manager experiments to come. I'm doing about 2 a week at the moment, sometimes 3 or more. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of those. If you've got ideas for experiments, drop them in the comments. Most of these experiments actually come from your ideas, because I am not creative enough to come up with them on my own. So let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to try. But until next time, see ya.